Is there really a risk of a housing bubble? I mean, what's going on or what's happening in the real estate market, right? When the pandemic started, everybody thought that the housing market was going to collapse. It actually did the exact opposite. While major parts of the economy got it and almost collapsed, housing went on a tear. Home prices have risen month over month and keeps hitting new record highs. The median home price in the US is around $363,000. That's $70,000 more last year and still climbing. All this buying frenzy, bidding wars, inventory shortage, and low mortgage rates, plus pandemic-induced work from home has really put a strain in the housing market, which is leading a lot of people to ask, are we going to see another 2007-2008 mortgage meltdown? Here are the key differences between then and now. Back then, there were a lot of speculators buying houses. Mortgage was easy to get and there were a ton of inventory. Today, most everyone that is buying a house is because they need or really want to buy a house. It's not easy to get approved for a mortgage and we do not have enough inventory to meet the demand. So does that mean we are all good? Not necessarily. There is worry about rising home prices could lead to inflation in other aspects of the economy. There's also this concern about younger generation not being able to afford these prices, lower income Americans getting priced out, not being able to build generational wealth, yada, yada, yada. I think those are all valid. But I think this is nitpicking and a lot of it is politically motivated. There's all this talk of trying to slow it down so that it becomes more sustainable. I'd argue that by trying to artificially manipulate the market is downright wrong. They talk about raising interest rates so that it could drive down prices. But how stupid is that? If you raise interest rates to drive down prices, it's basically the same thing. Let's say, for example, here in the East Bay, an $800,000 mortgage in the Bay Area right now with a 3% interest rate is around $3,373 monthly mortgage. Say you raise interest rates to 4% and you drove down the prices of homes and say your mortgage loan amount is now only $700,000. Care to guess what the monthly payment will be? $3,342. Not a lot of difference. Genius idea, right? Just genius. The other brilliant idea is tax credits and grants. Basically giving people money or tax credit so they can go out and buy a house that they cannot buy. I mean, who comes up with these stuff? You see, the simple fact is this. There is a severe shortage of housing inventory. And I'm not even talking about affordable housing. Here in the Bay Area, if you build so-called affordable housing or low-income housing, but you do not build enough housing for the middle class that's demanding it, guess what? Prices are still going to go up. What we need are new, less restrictive zoning laws and real incentives for builders to build both market rate housing and low income affordable housing that will meet the growing demand of the American people. The problem with this is that Congress passes a law and then it's up to the states to do whatever they want. Here in California, with such high demand, you would think that the builders would be building like crazy. They can't. With all the restrictive zoning laws, environmental concerns, CEQA, and NIMBY, all these prevents them from building market rate homes, let alone cheap housing. Here's the thing. There's a lot of bidding wars going on all over the country, but it doesn't mean there's a bubble. Rising home prices are totally justified by the lack of inventory right now. I personally don't know of anyone that has bought a house and just speculated that it will go higher and just continue to go higher and then sell it. In other words, these rising home prices are based on fundamentals of supply and demand. I would even argue that mortgage rates are not really a contributing factor to these home prices going up. I mean, no one wakes up in the morning and says, mortgage rates are at an all-time low. Let's buy a house right now. Mortgage rates are at an all-time low. It doesn't mean everyone that wants to buy a house can go out and just start bidding. Manipulating the market by raising mortgage rates or giving these tax incentives or grants does not solve the root cause of the problem. There is a need to build. Whether they are single-family homes, condos, apartment complexes, the solution is to build more. In San Francisco, there's a desperate need for more apartment buildings and other rental properties. No one is building because not only does it take a miracle to get anything approved over there, but they also have rent control. Rent control is nothing more than a leash that politicians use on poor people thinking that they are watching out for the little folks. I mean, how's that working out? Shortage of rental properties and skyrocketing rents. San Francisco has one of the highest rents in the world. Crappy, small, cramped, unsanitary living conditions. If I'm a builder, why would I build in an area that will give me a hard time to build, and then in the end, my profits will get affected? Stifling regulations and real in places like California, NIMBY rights, these are all the culprits of home prices going up. So, bubble or not a bubble, what needs to be addressed is the lack of housing. Higher interest rates won't help. Incentives for home buyers, grants won't help. It's build, baby, build. That's what we need to do. Government needs to go full-blown socialist on the low income side of the market. Builders need to be able to fast-track building permits. And I'm not only talking about properties for sale. We also need to be able to build more apartment buildings. It's hard for me to say that there is a risk of a bubble bursting because I don't see it as a bubble. Eventually, prices will slow down or maybe even go down because the reality is that we have a finite amount of buyers that can afford at these prices. When it does slow down, it will probably feel like a crash because you will hear a lot of people say, I told you so, it can't go on forever. One last thing, just because the fundamentals are great doesn't mean that there is no risk associated with this. There are other outside forces that we might not even know about right now. Currently, I can think of the new Delta variant, the wildfires, and other natural disasters that could derail this whole economy. And this could also go down in flames. So there you go. I don't think it's a bubble, but there is always something unknown out there that could derail this whole thing. Thanks for watching.